didn't see you there. My name is Daniel Pagero, and I'm here to teach you about the wonders of, well, lacrosse. Lacrosse is a very fun sport, and actually it's one of the oldest team sports ever played in America, really. It was first developed by Native Americans, and they used the sport as a ritual for a bunch of different things, really. They used it to settle like intertribal disputes or like against other different tribes. They use it as like a form of war. They use it as a form of training for young individuals and children and men in their tribes, and then it developed over time. First French colonists started looking at it, and they were like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. Not really, but then they started looking at it and like, yes, they want to adopt it and like transform it into the more modern day form of what it is today, and they're the ones that gave it the name lacrosse. Cross meaning stick, sort of similar to what this is, the stick, and then the la part just means the stick, basically, the cross, lacrosse. Now, lacrosse is a team sport, as I mentioned before, and it's played with 10 players on each side of a team. So in total, at most, you're gonna have 20 people on the field, and it's a very, very fun, competitive, and hectic and tough game. Lacrosse, you get to ram into people a lot of the time. You gotta stick check them, hit them. It is really a really fun sport if you're into that physical type of thing. But I'm here to tell you not just about lacrosse and what it is, because you can easily search up information online, but I want to also just give you tips that I thought was really helpful to me. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best lacrosse player in the world. I'm not saying I'm even an average lacrosse player, but I did my fair share of 4 years in high school, and there's some tips that I picked up along the way. Now, what I'm carrying here is called a defensive stick. A defensive stick is, I'd like to say, twice as long as an offensive stick. And I'm sorry I don't have one to show you here, but an offensive stick is basically half of this, and it's really the main stick everyone starts out with. I started off with an offensive stick, and it was a small stick, so let me just give you an example. This defensive stick is hella long, but a lacrosse defensive stick probably would end around here. Or maybe around here, probably. I haven't played with one for so long, so I wouldn't be the best judge to tell you, but it's a way shorter stick, and it's way more versatile than a defensive stick. But a defensive stick is used for defensive purposes. Obviously, my goal is that I have to defend my goal from the opposing players, the offense of the opposite team. And it's really fun. There's a lot of running and there's a lot of mental strategy going on, just as there in with most sports. And lacrosse is just one of those sports that is pretty fun and pretty challenging. Now, and I'm telling you, when you go into lacrosse, if you're ever interested, if I can get you interested, there's some things that you might want to consider. So let me show you one thing. I have a lot of my gear right here. This is all the gear basically that I use for my whole high school career, except for this. This I recently got. It's the Under Armour Revenant, alright? And it's great because most of your lacrosse gear, the gear that you're gonna get, is pretty bulky. Why? Because that's to protect you from getting hit. You're gonna get hit a lot with lacrosse. Specifically, people are gonna hit you with their sticks, whether they intend to or not. It's either gonna be an accident or it's gonna be on purpose, and the ref just doesn't call it. That's just what's gonna happen. But the best thing for me, I think, in lacrosse is not protecting yourself, because you just gotta build over that and get over it. It's mobility. Truly, it is mobility. I want stuff so I can free my arms, so I can shoot shots. Although I'm not much of a shooter, I'm gonna say it, be honest. Rip shots, or just move around, dodge with my stick. Alright, that's why I don't like big, bulky shoulder pads or stuff that's just bulky on my body when I'm playing lacrosse. That's why this doesn't have any shoulder pads or anything like that. Easy, quick straps, I can put it in under like 2 seconds. Alright, it's such a nice thing, and it's so light, and it does the job done when it's protecting my sternum. Because, I say I don't want to get hit, but I definitely don't want to get hit over here in your sternum. That's when you get all your wind knocked out of you. But I'll also give you another tip. One of my friends from a different school actually gave me this tip. Shout out to him. He was like, what's a really cool tip? Don't ever get, I'm not saying don't ever get, but try and get elbow caps. Elbow caps are nice. all right? Because as opposed to these bulky arm guards that I have, I like them a lot. They protect, obviously, they protect more than that, but elbow caps obviously are going to give you more mobility because it's just capping, and it's protection that is what's required, because you're required to have these pieces of gear to help you out. But the cool thing about elbow caps is that sometimes they sound like you get hit in your helmet, and if a ref gets confused, like, oh my gosh, did he just hit him in the helmet? But it's just your elbow cap, the opposite player is going to get caught out, maybe like even you know, a foul, or you're going to have to sit out, and that would be a crazy benefit for your team. And now this might seem a little sly and tricky, but a lot of sports sort of involve those things like that. But to try your best at lacrosse, you really need to practice. That's why I have that baby back there, the rebound board. The rebound board helps with a bunch of different things. Let me show you real quick. So, I picked up a lacrosse ball right here. Another important thing about lacrosse is that when you're running with the stick, you really can't just run regularly or the ball's gonna fall out of your stick. What you have to do is a specific technique called the cradle. Now, there's gonna be a bunch of different variations of the cradle. And I don't mean that it's a good thing, but the basic cradle is the one thing you always have to go for. When you're running, you always need to do that basic cradle. But there's also just really like power cradling is what people do when they're beginners and just swinging it back and forth. But no, when you're cradling, you have to feel it. You have to make the stick and the ball become one with you, and you have to run with it and make it just flow. And then when you pick up speed, you can keep going, and that's just a crazy feeling when you're running, cradling a ball across the field, and then ooh, you shoot it, and then you rip, and then you score. A rip, by the way, when you're ripping shots, you're shooting them real fast. I'm gonna try and catch myself on some lingo I use, but forgive me if I sound a little confusing. Again, if you're ever interested in more learning about lacrosse, I'm just giving you 10 minutes of miscellaneous information. Go search it up online, talk to your school about it, maybe see if you can join a club in your local area. But anyways, back to this rebound board. A rebound board is truly crucial and very important when playing lacrosse. Practicing it more specifically, look, it sort of acts as like a wall, because this is the same exercise you would do on a wall, and I'm gonna call it wall ball. And it's as simple as it sounds. You throw your ball at a wall, it comes back to you, and then you catch it, and that's how you practice on your catching and your throwing. All right, and a rebound board, that's gonna cost you around, I don't know, $150, $300, depending on your local sports market. Or you can search it up online for cheap prices, or if you just find a wall, it's basically the same thing. Now, talk to you about this really quick. Mouth guards and tape. Tape, at least down here in Florida, tape, you're required to have it on your stick. You need to have it at the end, making it a different color, or in the middle. And I want to talk to you as well about mouth guards. Now, mouth guards are a critical thing. When you're playing lacrosse, when you're playing a sport, you need this basic protection. All right. Although I just made an argument about how less protection could be better, but there's still some bases of protection that you really need. Crucially, a mouth guard. And this goes with most sports, most physical contact sports. All right. You want to protect your face. Like, that's it. Like, everything else, you could probably heal, but your face, no, that's your moneymaker. You feel? That's why you always gotta have your helmet around and your mouth guard. All right. Mouth guard to protect those pearly whites. And tape is just a regulation that you might need on your field, on your team, or whatever. But I just gave you a little bits of round of like 10 minutes of information, maybe cutting it a little short, but not really. But there's a lot of things that I can explain about lacrosse, and I can just do it for like an hour. But I want you guys to see if you can grow your own interest and just take up the sport, if it interests you. Another funny thing about lacrosse is that if you do ever drop the ball, what you have to go for in lacrosse is a ground ball. And that's when you scoop the ball up from the ground. And it's really simple. You get really low, you squat down. That's like a good form to have. But, oh gosh, in the game, when there's like, I don't know, 6 people, 3 on your team, 3 on the other, squatting down for a ball, it gets really rough in there. And that's just a lot of the pleasure about lacrosse. It's a physical contact sport. It adds a whole different has a whole new element of passing the ball around. You get to get physically fit while you play it. Well, that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a nice day, and that's lacrosse.